Welcome to Awake and Empowered TV. I'm your host, Ethan Fox. Today I'm here with my co-host, Micheila Sheldan, and she'll be with me for the next couple of hours as we talk about things that are happening in the world and what has been going on in her life since the last time she's been on the show. And we'll also spend the last hour doing some channeling and speaking to higher guidance and getting some much needed wisdom for all of you out in the audience who are watching our show today. So thank you for joining me again today, Micheila.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So it's been, I think, about a month and a half since the last time.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's been going on with you in terms of, events that you're doing or anything that's been happening?
Wow. I've been on some live shows. As a matter of fact, the last week I was on two, Soul Talk and Sacred Stories. And there was some really interesting stuff coming through. So that was really fun. Still channeling my book, although it's stalled a little bit here and there, like we talked about last time, but it started coming back and I'm feeling that ramping up a little bit. And I've been getting some new information there. And we've been working a lot on the expo.
Right, the expo.
Yeah.
So the expo, for those of you who are not aware, we do have an expo coming up this March 18th, 19th, and 20th of 2016. And it's going to be at the Westin Book Cadillac in downtown Detroit. It's a beautiful restored hotel from the early 1900s. It's really nice inside, and we've rented the whole fourth floor for our event. We have some really incredible presenters. James Gilliland will be there doing a presentation and also a workshop, I believe, which you probably can speak more to the workshop, what takes place in there.
I'm not sure I can speak to it in detail, but it looks really awesome. He does, many of you who are familiar with James and the Ascetti Ranch, it's like an energetic clearing, and I think it has a lot to do with timelines and readjusting some timelines and clearing density. So that will be very cool. I will be there. I'm signing up for that one. I'll be the first one in the door.
You and a lot of other people on our team, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Winston Shroud, who's going to be there speaking. Well, he's giving a lecture on clearing financial karma in a third-dimensional reality, which actually is a very fascinating talk where he's going to be talking about the history of the legal and financial system and how we got here, and also offering some much needed tips on day-to-day kinds of things that may happen to all of us and how to deal with those circumstances. And he's also giving a workshop on Sunday, which is going to be a 3-hour, I believe, almost 4-hour workshop, if I remember correctly, where it's about reclaiming your assets. And basically what he's going to do is teach the members of the workshop how to refile their documents, and so that you can essentially function within the system but outside of the system at the same time. So one of the repercussions of that is you're no longer obligated to pay the federal income tax, which is really not legal anyway. But this is a way you can work within the legal system to make that a possibility. And so he's going to be teaching. So if that class alone is worth the effort to be there, because imagine all the money you can save and all the other kinds of hassles you can avoid in the system. Who else do we have?
Laura Eisenhower.
Oh, yeah, right. Laura's going to be there, yeah.
Dr. Dream.
Dr. Dream.
Yeah, we just added Dr. Dream's 330 Tibetan bowl galactivation to open the event Friday night. And so this is something very unique that he just started doing. And it's a really interesting concept because what he's doing is he's actually giving back through this connection to the community, and a smaller community here, because everyone has a chance to get involved. He has a band of angels that he recruits. So if you're interested in coming and being a part of the event, you can actually run the event with him, right, and play the bowls. But in addition to that, he is using this event to give back to a small community in Nepal. I'm not sure I know the name of that community.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they were at the epicenter of the earthquake. And so the proceeds from this event and from him selling some of these bowls afterwards help give back to that community. But we're going to be floating on the ceiling for a while. which will be a great opening for the event. But if you're coming, just be aware there's limited space in this room for Friday night, and there's a limited number of tickets available. So if you're planning on coming to the expo and you want to experience this 330 Tibetan bowl galactivation, make sure you buy your ticket well ahead to make sure you can get a seat in that room.
Yeah, we rented a slightly smaller space for this expo, so it's going to be a much more cozy fit. But so if you do want to attend that Friday night, you can buy a separate ticket to just that, or just join us for the whole weekend as well. We also have Freddie Silva coming, and he's an author of several books on the topic of ancient sites around the world and ancient civilizations and ley lines and energy centers and so on. So it should be a very fascinating conversation in that particular presentation as well. And then we have Marina Jacobi.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what's she talking about exactly?
The harmonic
harmonic reactor, right?
Sorry, the harmonic reactor. And she's a channel.
Yeah.
So she channels a little differently than I do. She channels technology.
Right.
And all about how we are creators, right?
Yeah, and I believe teleportation technology.
Thank you, teleportation.
Things like that. Yeah.
We have Ken Chorley again, speaking of that.
Yeah, Ken Chorley.
Yeah.
For those of you, if you watched the video from our previous expo that was posted several weeks ago, he did a little demonstration on telekinesis, which I thought was pretty amazing. I mean, I've never actually seen someone do a demonstration like that. And he also did an aerokinesis demonstration at the expo last time, which he'll be doing those again this time. Well, he may not be doing aerokinesis because we really can't do that at this particular venue, but he did have an object underneath a glass dome that he moved with his hands outside of the dome, which I thought was pretty interesting. I used to have this little when I was in my early 20s, I had this psychic development kit, and it was just like a game type of thing, but it had this little thing in there that you could move basically underneath the glass dome. I never could actually get it to work, but it's kind of cool to see somebody actually be able to do that. I mean, it's interesting, like all of our abilities are a little bit different, and so that he has the ability to do that. So that's worth coming to see. It's pretty incredible to witness that in person. Barb Morey will be there. This time she's not going to be doing a lecture. She's actually going to be doing a workshop on auras, where she's going to have coloring pencils and crayons, and she's going to actually help everyone who's in the workshop to color in their auras and what they actually look like, the colors and the sizes and so on, which is kind of cool. So if you participate in that, you can walk away with actually what your energy field looks like in the class. So she's a very gifted aura reader that's been helping me in my energy transfer events over the years, which of course I'm doing my class as well. Right. Mm-hmm. This time I'm not doing energy transfer class on Saturday, but I'm going to be doing a class. One of the things that I've found is that a lot of light workers are struggling with trying to take their gift, or even figure out what their gifts are,
right.
And then to live in the current dimensional reality and manifest those gifts in a way that's true to their life purpose.
Right.
And so I've been working with a lot of light workers in recent months, more so, but in the last couple of years, and helping them to develop those gifts, to figure out what they are, and then eventually launch them in the world, like as a world-class brand, similar to what we did with your brand over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So I'll be teaching a class on that and just talking about how to manifest those gifts and how to, and just some general ideas about cycles and how to work within those cycles to take yourself out into the world in a much bigger way. So there's that workshop. And then I know Dr. Dream is giving a lecture as well, but I don't remember what it was about. He just sent me the description for that.
Yeah.
So
we also have Brooks Agnew and Adam Apollo.
Oh, right, yeah.
We'll both be there.
Adam's going to be really interesting. Well, both of them are. Adam's going to be speaking about, he does this incredible presentation where he talks about a lot of the innovations happening in the world right now. I think a lot of us who are part of this conversation, who are aware of the things that are taking place in the world, that are more, we notice the mainstream media, we may or may not pay attention to it, but there's so much that seems like it's on the wrong path in the world. But Adam's really talking about what's actually happening in the mainstream that shows that we're heading toward a much more conscious and advanced future in civilization. So he's going to be talking about modern technological innovations that most of us have never heard of. Some incredible things. And I know his last presentation he did like this was, I believe, around, I don't know, I think it was around 99 or 2000 somewhere. So it's a little bit dated. So he's updated it for us for this presentation. So that's going to be really interesting. I wish I could sit in on those things, but I'm so busy at these expos, I never have time to actually watch the presentations. But so there's that one. And then there's Brooks Agnew. I can't remember what he was.
and Dean Thomas, too.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, we left him out.
Yeah, well, Brooks, so what was Brooks talking about? Do you remember?
Well, I know in your interview with him, he went into great detail about the hollow earth.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not sure what the...
Yeah, I forgot what his presentation's about, but it was very interesting. I just have to reread it. I'm just now pulling the schedule together a little bit late. And then, Romania Dean Thomas is doing a workshop on tonic herbs, and so it'll be more of an interactive, hands-on, where he'll have the herbs with him, and he'll be able to answer questions. So that's more of a small, intimate environment, not so much of a lecture. But last expo he did that, and we had a huge group of people who were in that and had really amazing things to say about him. And of course, he'll be there selling his herbs at the exhibitor area. And our exhibitor area is free to attend for the weekend. So if you're local to us, or if you want to fly in and just take in the exhibitor area, you're welcome to do that all weekend. There's no ticket purchase necessary for that.
I'm going to be there.
Yes, of course, Micheila.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to do a lecture. But I have a workshop in mind that I've never done before. And so those of you who have been in my Lightworker Inner Circle 10-week classes, you've experienced some of the guides coming in and working with activations and processes to remove density and work on the structure. And so that's what I'm cooking up with the guides. Sounds cool. A very intimate experience where we're working together as a collective and on some of that stuff. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
So that's the first time you're offering that. How big is the class going to be, do you think?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Good question. I'm going to let the guys decide. I've already downloaded some information about this workshop, but the size was not a part of that information. So I'm sure they'll make it perfect for the amount of people that show up, because it's always how it works.
Okay.
So
you're not limiting it.
I don't know that I'll limit it.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I'll keep it open.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have Kevin Ryan, fifth dimensional healer, who's going to be giving a lecture, and also doing a healing. He's very gifted. He's also another light worker that I've worked with in the last couple of years to help him to develop his gifts and put him out on the stage and as well. So he's quite talented. Then we have a number of other people. We have Living Balance Center doing a sound immersion. And then we also have that other...
Tim Mast.
Right?
Yep. He's from Kentucky. He does an amazing crystal bowl immersion. Yeah.
So we're going to have that on Sunday to kind of wind up the day. And of course, we'll have a number of panels, a consciousness panel. We're going to have an ET panel of some kind. So on that, we'll have people like James Gilliland and Micheila and so on, answering questions about extraterrestrial contact and extra-dimensional experiences and things like that. So that should be very interesting. I know we're missing people here. Oh, Mark Romero.
Oh, how could we have forgotten Mark?
Mark's been there our first two expos, so it's his third time coming back, but he's doing a little different kind of thing this time.
Yeah, he's got a new presentation never seen before. He's debuting at our expo.
Yeah.
So I've heard a little bit about it, but I'm not going to divulge too much. But I think you'll be quite amazed. He'll still be working with the music, but he's taking things in a bigger, more expansive direction. So I think you'll love it.
So we have 3 days of quite a few events happening we have lectures in 2 different rooms happening all weekend long. Friday night is going to be in our larger room, and then we have 2 other rooms that have workshops going on all weekend as well, and then the exhibitor space also. So we have a social happening Saturday night, and basically hors d'oeuvres, and you get to hang out with the various presenters and our expo team and all the other attendees who wanted to participate in that. Just, we've been having a lot of people requesting that they feel very alone in the world and they want to meet other people like them. And so we created a little bit of a social activity Saturday night to get to know. So that's our VIP Afterglow this year. So you can join us for that as well if you'd like. So it's going to be quite an amazing weekend. Lots of incredible presentations and experiences, and really, our expo is different. It's unique because it's really more of a transformative experience. It's a consciousness experience. We are very selective about who we put on our stage so that we can create a certain vibration throughout the whole weekend. And so that's what we've been very successful at doing the last several years. Although you will learn things and you will experience things, it's really more of a consciousness raising experience, the expo. So anyway, go to our website, awakeandempoweredexpo.com or AAEexpo.com, and you can purchase tickets there and take a look at the schedule and the presenters that are coming, and we hope you'll join us. So anyway, last time we talked, we talked about how in March there's another eclipse coming.
Right.
And I've heard you speaking about it in some of your telesummits recently as well.
Yeah.
And so now we're in February. So we're a month away, and I remember last time we talked about how those energies would start to show in February, and same happened last time. The eclipse was in September, and we started seeing people starting to go a little crazy around August.
Yes.
So now we're heading into that same window of time again, and I've heard you talk about the significance of this particular event. So maybe you could talk a little more detail and anything new that you might have come to realize in the months past.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very significant event on the planet, and I've been hearing a lot of it, and I've actually gotten a lot more information as well about what's really happening with the solar alignments. I'm downloading a lot in my book about solar energies and our sun. That's been really interesting. But to back up before I talk about that, yes, for those of you who haven't been tuning into some of my videos and lectures and things, there is a very significant alignment in March, and that's a solar eclipse. And what I've been told, I've been working with a couple of collectives on this that have come in for my book. One of them is the Ancients, and they are a collective of Mayan ancients. And the other collective I haven't talked about too much because they don't really come through in my live lectures or in my sessions, but they come through for the book. And they're called the Timekeepers. And they've been responsible for a lot of the information I've channeled in the book, especially about solar energies and our structure. And they're a ninth dimensional collective as well. Mostly Lemurian collective, but a DNA mix of energies and races. And so what they've been telling me is in March, the solar eclipse is very significant because the solar energies trigger our ascension codes, right, that we have. And we do have an ascension code. We have ascension codes that are unique to us based on the planetary alignment. So your incarnation date, right, that you chose, you have a series of ascension codes within your structure that are triggered by various planetary alignments. And those bring up experiences that we use to ascend and heal and clear, right? Well, we also have ascension codes that are cosmic and ones that are related to Mother Earth because we came here to be a part of this earth. And we have a mirror code that is being triggered in March to a code that's exactly the same in Mother Earth. And so what I've been told is the purpose of this alignment is to help us plug back in and reconnect with Earth, which sounds great, but what does that really mean? Well, our structures, our internal structures, I've been getting a lot more information on. And I know it sounds really complicated. We talk about the structure. Sometimes the guides I work with call it the technology, and we talk a lot about, in the fifth dimension, we're going to have all this new technology, or we're going to be able to use technology differently. Well, the technology's in here. We've manifested a lot of things outside of the self, but what the guides and collectives I'm working with are really talking about is our internal technology, because that's what we're building right now. So this plug into Earth is really important for a couple of reasons. I channeled for the book. We talk a lot about the core of Mother Earth, and we talk about our core, and I've never thought about it this way, but what I channeled was that the core of Mother Earth is actually a sentient being. So Mother Earth is a being, and she has a core within her that is a sentient being. And the sentient being, they equate to like a God, God, creator energy, right? This is how Earth manifested, and this is how we manifested from her. So we mirror her. We have an internal structure, an internal core that is, our soul, our higher self, our energy, and so does she. Well, now what we're able to do is tap into that inner core in a new way. And so we have the ability through our structure to tap into universal energies, but now we use Mother Earth as the catalyst to bring in even more. And so this is all information that we get to use in order to allow the structure to work as it was intended. So what the timekeepers have been giving me is a lot of information about the sun. And so in one of the chapters that I channeled, they compared the sun to like one of those big IBM processing centers where you have all of the hard drives, you can see that in your mind. And they say that the sun acts as the storer of our expansive energy. And so all of this is magnetized, it's all frequency. So as we are creators, we're expanding the universe. We know this. Every experience we have, every time we ascend, we're expanding ourselves, but we're also expanding people around us, as well as races and planets. And, we're creating things we don't even know about, right? And that all goes into the universal time grid, which is a web of consciousness. But we manifested the sun as a part of the earth because we knew we needed to use some of that expansive information for our own ascension. So when these solar energies connect with the planet and connect with us, we're actually receiving our own information back. So where we've expanded and we've learned all these lessons, we're actually rewriting history here. Because when you think about it, we are that history. And they've talked about this as well in the book. There have been so many things that have happened on our planet, wars, kinds of things, right? Even if we weren't incarnated here and experienced those things directly, they're a part of who we are because we're made of all of it. And so we experience our personal journey as a unique manifestation of that history. So my guides always say we came here to heal ourselves on behalf of the entire collective. And I never really put together exactly what that meant until I started getting more of this information about how we're rewriting history with this new structure. And when we move into a fifth dimensional energy, we are almost clearing that history from ourselves and from the planet, which becomes the rebirth that we're walking. But the sun is the impetus for so much of this happening, and huge raises in consciousness when we have these direct alignments with the sun. And when you think about the sun, we've always been working in this third dimensional, really physical place where, we've looked at the sun as we know we get nutrients from the sun and vitamin D, and the guides even talk about our emotional body. We oftentimes will go on vacation to a really sunny place because it feels good. So we'll sit in the sun all week, and all of a sudden we come back and we're completely harmonized. Our emotional body is completely changed. We feel better. We have more energy. And we've looked at this in a really third dimensional way because really what's happened there is we've downloaded more information because we've connected with that solar energy, and it's given us back parts of ourself, the really good parts, like the expansive parts, And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you go on that week vacation and you lay in the sun all week and then you come home more tired than when you left. You feel like you need a vacation from the vacation. Well, it's because the physical body is catching up with all that new information that the sun is giving you back. So when you think about it that way, we're in for a really big week-long sunny vacation in the spring, right? Where a lot of those storage banks that the sun is going to give us back the expansive, and they call it light-coded frequencies and information for us to be able to ascend and raise our consciousness. So that's what we have going on. Yeah.
And interestingly, we scheduled our expo right at the same time.
I noticed that, and I noticed there are some interesting correlations there. I know. Right. Yeah.
So what kind of things are you hearing from your clients? Any interesting correlations or anything worth mentioning?
There's a lot going on with this transition into the fifth dimension. And so what's been really interesting is, so we're creators, we create timelines, and we've created all these timelines in the third dimension. So I'm seeing a lot of people who they know what they they know they're here for something really big, but they kind of know the direction their soul has gone with all these things. There's these little clues. And so the guides have been talking about the fact that in this third dimensional density, that processor, that's the sun, the DNA is the processor within us. We've been blocked from a lot of that information. So what happened in that density was our soul's always magnetizing and attracting things to us, and we're creating timelines based on those attractions. So people have manifested these separate timelines that were really meant to be this one collective expression that we're bridging to in the fifth dimension. So let me give you an example. I had someone who I was channeling for, and they went into the medical profession, and they specifically went into cancer treatment. And then there was a line of research that they started pursuing, and then went the spiritual path and gained some more information about vibration and all these things. And when the guides were talking about their collective mission, it was taking all of those things and it pulled them all together in this really beautiful higher expression of their soul. This is a common theme in all of my clients lately, is they're taking all of these timelines, these little things that we've done and created, and even the relationships in some way have been a part of that. And so what we do when we bridge into the fifth dimension is we have the free will choice to take the higher aspects of all these timelines and bring them with us and use them. So when you think about having a solar alignment like that coming in, it gives us the impetus to be able to recognize what we can take from all of these timelines and use it and drop the rest away. So nothing goes to waste is the new theme in all of my sessions, because I've been amazed really as a trance channel, not knowing these clients before they get on the call, how the guides are identifying all these very specific things that they did, or they were attracted to, or that they're interested in, or that became their job, right, in a third dimensional way, and pulling them all together with their interest and their creative energy into some higher expression of the self. And it always fits. So I don't think that we are quite able to do it yet. And so the other thing I'm hearing is there's a lot of stagnant energy. People are stuck. They're starting to see it, but they're really not able to take all those timelines and pull them all together. And that's just because we have to go through this transition, because I feel, and what the collectives I work with have been saying, is that this solar alignment in the spring actually becomes the impetus for all that, the timeline intersection, right? And they've shown it to me in so many different sessions visually, where I'll see all those timelines laid out in front of somebody that are connected to them. And they're all just braided together and pulled into this one cord of light, which becomes their collective assignment in the world. So that's where a lot of the sessions have been focused.
I've been experiencing the same thing with my clients as well. And it's interesting because I've been a student and practitioner of astrology, numerology for I think about 23 years now. And I've used it in a variety of scenarios, and I was always trying to understand, if two souls are born at the same place, time, and same birthday, then why don't they have identical lives? They have similar lives. And so I've come to the conclusion every body has a different soul, and that soul has a different amount of karma. They came here to have a different kind of an experience, and their consciousness is different. And so the level of consciousness that they're functioning from will cause that blueprint in the chart, which may be identical to another baby born right next to them in the same place. But even though the blueprint looks similar in the chart and the numerology, they will manifest it a little differently because of their level of consciousness. So one person, for example, to carry forward what you were just saying, one person may become a doctor, another one may become a spiritual healer. So they're both similar blueprint, but slightly different expression depending on consciousness.
Right.
And that's what I'm noticing with a lot of my clients. A lot of them have lived very conventional lives. Even myself included, prior to walking this path, I was in the business and financial world. So, and now my focus, even though in a way you could say I'm still in business because we're running this organization and we're putting on expos and things like that, but it's a much higher expression of the same kind of thing. And I'm noticing that with a lot of my clients too. They're either, especially the ones that I'm working with in my Lightworker program, who are coming to the realization that they need to express their gifts in another way. And quite often, for example, I have someone who she's been in the more conventional healing fields and nursing and things like that, and I am working with her to actually go into a more alternative healing field. And so that's same blueprint essentially, but a higher vibration of it.
Right.
I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this morning I actually downloaded a writing from the Council of Light that I work with. They are 12th dimensional consciousness. And they were talking about how we often make our spiritual path separate from our current reality, and we think that our spiritual path has to be something different, and we look at them so separate. Like we have this conventional life, but that has nothing to do with our spiritual journey. And the spiritual journey is the path, it's all the same. So I do think people are looking outside of what they've typically done for something brand new, and they're getting really stuck. When really, if they look at some of the things that they've already manifested, just knowing that they manifested them in a different dimensional reality than where we're headed, they give you the clues, of what you can use from your current experience. So it's not like reinventing the wheel, like this healer, here she was. So much that went on there, she learned and used her, even probably her extrasensory, and all these other things in that field. And now she's just taking it into this newer expression of herself. So, yeah.
We've had some actually interesting events from an astrological standpoint that ended in 2015, one of which was Saturn squared in Neptune. And I've experienced, like a lot of my clients have been experiencing that. And so on a global scale in the past year, a lot of people have been coming to question their belief systems. And also, when you have those two planets in square, what happens is the material reality tends to conflict with the spiritual reality. And so a lot of people have been struggling with not only what we're talking about now, which basically is, well, how do I follow my dreams and my, my spiritual mission in life and integrate that into my physical world,
Right.
Which is one way that manifests. Another way it manifests is a lot of people are starting to question their beliefs that they've held for a long time. And so I think as a result, a lot of people are waking up now and seeing reality differently than they did in the years past.
Mm-hmm.
So that influence happened in 2015, and the way a lot of my clients have been experiencing it is that they are, like I said, coming to realize they need to walk a different path in their life and make their careers more true to their mission, their life passion, and so on. So that's happened, and so I think that has accelerated a lot of awakening through struggles. Another thing we've had for quite a few years now, Pluto square Uranus has been going on, which I've been speaking about for many, many years and attributed that to the awakening, another element of awakening, but more the revolution that's taking place in the world. And so that's been everything from all the protests on Wall Street many years ago to the huge growth in alternative news media, and so we see both sides there, because we see Pluto in Capricorn, which is the establishment that's trying to enforce more restrictions on people in the recent years, as well as the people waking up and rebelling against it. So, I mean, our expo is really a manifestation of that reality.
Right.
We're a representation of that awakening and bringing all those tools of awakening to the public. So people are really waking up, and so that's been happening for many years, and that influence finally, at least from a geocentric standpoint, which means from an Earth-centered viewpoint, those planets are no longer in square. So we're now on the other side of that a little bit, but not entirely. We're going to still have to wait until the early 2020s when Pluto enters Aquarius, and that's when we're going to see all of those freedoms restored to the people, and technological advancements. We'll see it over a little bit over the years between here and there, but that's when it's going to be happening. And a lot of the people I've been speaking with, they're seeing the same thing happening in the same time period. So, and you've channeled that too. So we've actually just crossed a big threshold in 2015 in terms of spiritual awakening and a revolutionary change in the world in all respects. So that was a big thing.
Right.
So this is an amazing time we're heading into, and then of course March, all the things happening then, and
right.
So I think 2016 is going to be the beginning of the move toward something very different than we've had in the past.
Yeah, and some of the information I've been channeling about that spring alignment too is, as we move into a fifth dimensional consciousness, our manifestation here begins to change. And I've been talking about this a little bit as well in some of my my shows and things. The way that we manifested in the third dimension was very singularly based, and we weren't really able to use the structure as intended or properly because we had all this density and all this stuff, and we didn't really know. We were manifesting willy-nilly, and we were still a part of this consciousness, so we were manifesting as a one collective and not really understanding what we were doing. But as the structure comes online, and this is the crystalline core, structure of us and Mother Gaia, and the connection to that, it provides us the impetus for this collective-based manifestation. So the separate bodies, we've used the bodies really separately, like the mental, the spiritual, physical, emotional bodies, we've used them really separately, like the mental body's taken the lead, or the emotional body held a vibration that was all out of whack with, who we wanted to be and where we wanted to go. But now those bodies have the ability to harmonize and work cohesively. And so we begin, and the consciousness here, right, is going to raise exponentially. So now our manifestation becomes more collective, and it becomes for the highest good of everyone. And when I say that, I know some people like inside go like, oh, like, what about me? Like, this is scary. But imagine, we still, as a singular being, get to manifest and create and live the lives that we want as a reflection of all of it. But it's always for the highest good of everyone else too. So that's, I think, ties in with astrology, and how those things will begin to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just incredible times we're living in.
Yeah, I agree.
Hard to see if you watch mainstream media, but just absolutely amazing things going on. And
right.
So can we channel for a little while maybe, and then we can always
absolutely.
talk afterward if we have time.
Okay.
Who are we speaking with?
Jeremiah. We are very pleased to connect with you.
Hello, Jeremiah. I'd like to start with just some general questions. If you can offer some guidance to the light workers out there as we're heading into the March eclipses, and I know that in previous times we've channeled about how it's going to be a very significant time in the awakening of consciousness. So maybe you can tell us more about what's happening there and offer any guidance to light workers who may be struggling through these next couple of months.
We are very pleased, and we are connecting with the Council of Light for this answer, and many are prepared to bring this transmission of vibration to this collective consciousness. For as we move into this timeline, we are all working as one in unity for the entire universal web of consciousness, which we call the universal time grid. We want to start by discussing your structure as a one consciousness. And in the past, we have focused very singularly on your structure and how it works in conjunction with the universal grid. Consciousness is the basis by which the energies of a group of humans connected as one is able to imprint energy that is used through the universal time grid by other races and other collective energies. And we've discussed this also previously when we have engaged in discussions of the splitting of the timelines here, that there will be two separate collective groups of consciousness on your planet. The third dimensionally based focused humans and those that are bridging into the fifth dimensional consciousness. When we speak of this, what we want you to realize is that the March alignments of solar nature allow the magnetized frequency for this timeline intersection to take place. And the reason for that is that in the solar energies, there is a universally based expansive light. Your Mother Gaia being is in itself a living, breathing entity by which there is an expansive creative energy. Your sun, as a planetary being, was birthed through the creative energy of Mother Gaia in a mirror fashion or likeness to herself. And we know that for many of you this seems difficult to accept because you would feel as if the solar energies are in quite opposition to your Mother Earth being. But when we say that there was a manifestation of this solar energy, what we wish to explain is that in the record of Mother Earth, there was a trigger of a code that enabled her to understand that through her creative energy, she could manifest the likeness of her core in order to receive back frequencies of magnetized light coded energy to assist in her own ascension. Many of you are doing this singularly based. So as creators, you use your frequency in order to manifest mirror likenesses of yourself. And those show up in the form oftentimes as other souls that give you a vibrational energy or frequency or experience. Sometimes these are shown up in abundance. These are shown up in paths of awareness for you through your singular physical experience. So when the sun was manifested by Mother Gaia as a reflection of her own energy, there was a vibrational equation that formed a likeness of itself, meaning when Mother Earth was in need of higher frequencies, there would be a telepathic exchange, and that need would be met through the manifestation of creative energy and vibration. These light-coded frequencies are sent back to the planet in order to balance and harmonize her inner core, which you are connected to. Now, we have often spoken of the disconnection or the disharmony between your collective race and Mother Gaia. In essence, you've never been completely disharmonized or disconnected from her. You couldn't have been. You, in essence, manifest through her and of her. You are light, and you encoded here as cosmic energy and cosmic light. But when you accepted a physical incarnation on this planet, you knew that your energy would be connected of and through her. And in that exchange, you would be able to ascend through her own ascension. Now, when these solar energies are at their most direct point, what is happening is there is an engagement of telepathic energy between Mother Gaia and between the sun. This is your sun. This is within your solar system. This is the one that is enabling your ascension here. And in that direct connection, there is a magnetized and light-coded frequency that is sent between her and you. And that light-coded frequency is interpreted by your structure as information. This is why many are awakened during solar events. This is why we often say that the consciousness of the planet is able to be raised significantly during these solar events, because the structure becomes harmoniously aligned in many ways. And this is what we most want to explain about your structure and what will happen in the spring alignment. As beings of light and as beings of frequency and energy, you are always exchanging with your likeness and using that exchange to benefit the structure. And when we say benefit, we want you to understand that we equate the word benefit to expand, because human beings often interpret the word benefit as something that is good or pleasing to them, when we look at energy as neither good nor bad, neither right or wrong. The experience, regardless of your interpretation of it, is expansive. And that is the most important thing that you need to know, is that in this solar alignment, as it comes in March, there is the opportunity for expansive amounts of information. Now, this information that you're receiving, is it new to you? Is it something that you have never known before or connected with before? We would say no. Your DNA structure came with history encoded within it. And that history was within Mother Gaia. It's been a part of her history, and it became a part of you when you chose to incarnate here. What the solar energies do is they give that light-coded frequency to the DNA structure in a way that history becomes more expansive through your own interpretation of energy. Let us break this down for you as to what this means in your own physical experience. Oftentimes, when there are solar energies, there is a disruption in your physical experience. Often that disruption is not to your liking. It may be a disease that has manifested. It may be a relationship that must resolve. It can be a long-term issue with abundance or a family member, or it can be a complete change of your path. But in these experiences, you have the free will to use them in order to clear the structure. So what we are saying here is that the solar energies become an impetus, not only for the flow of more information from the DNA through the structure, but also the ability to clear the history associated with your being that may be weighing you down in terms of heavy, dense, imprinted experience, allowing more light within the structure for healing. In addition, we would say that the emotional body becomes a very important part of the solar alignments. And you would say that when these solar energies take place, oftentimes there is a disruption in the emotional body of many human beings. They become quite chaotic. They feel chaotic. They feel imbalanced. This is because the emotional body is adjusted during these solar frequencies. What ascension is doing on the planet is it is aligning you in such a way that these emotional parts of the self become integrated with your core, which is the core of Mother Gaia, and now able to modify frequency to the highest good of yourself and others. So when these solar energies come, you're integrating more of the emotional body with the structure. This is why many manifest emotionally based experiences during these times, because again, they become an opportunity for you to clear the structure of any karma or density that is holding you in resistance. And the impetus for that clearing becomes the impetus for the healing of the human consciousness. We also want to make you aware that the crystalline core within you, the one that is expanding in this very moment and connecting electromagnetically to yourself and others through the heart chakra, is in mirror likeness to the crystalline core that is the Mother Gaia being. And in that crystalline core resides a sentient being, and that sentient being is a higher vibrational being of light. It is the universe as Earth. It is capturing everything within the essence of nature in availability through her to you. So when you begin to use this ascension code that is mirrored to her, to remember that connection, to allow the structure to fall in line with that connection, you're able to now raise your frequency. And the consciousness here will raise exponentially because of this remembrance. It was all within you. It is not new light-coded frequency. It is the light-coded frequency within you now magnetizing its likeness and bringing into your awareness a physical reality to engage in. There must always be a physical experience because you chose to come here in physical form. And the physical experience becomes the energetic currency by which you heal the collective consciousness and by which you rewrite your Earth's history and rebirth anew. The reason for this is within that relationship that has come up to heal, within that abundance issue that is weighing you down, within that new path, there's a beautiful gift. And that is that you are able to now use expanded amounts of information, expansion that you have already created through your energy, to clear this history and make room to write new. Using all of the aspects of these timelines that have come up for you to heal for the highest good of yourself and others. So when you embrace the opportunity of this timeline, you will begin to see its significance on your planet. And you will begin to see why it becomes a new part of the transition that you are walking here as a one. As you resonate together through the heart chakra, the impetus through this solar magnetized frequency becomes a collective form of manifestation here. And that collective form of manifestation is, in essence, the new structure working as it was intended.
Now, I find it very interesting that we scheduled our expo right around the time of this eclipse. And so could you tell us a little about what's the significance of this event taking place at that time? And for those who are planning on attending, what will be the experience or what will be the benefit to them that they get from being there?
Yes, so this is the Jeremiah Collective steps in to answer this question on behalf of many who are light beings in this time. So we will use this event as a representation of many events on the planet, of many collectives on the planet, and many light beings on the planet who have come in significance, not only to this alignment, but to the result of this alignment, which is the beginning of the essence of the splitting of the timelines, of the two collective groups of consciousness that are birthing here on the planet. As you have accepted this date for the event, it was a record in your DNA as the organizer of this event and as a light being who is connecting with a collective consciousness through this event, to align it in such a way that the structure would be ready to hear much of the information that is being brought forward. When we think of this alignment in particular as the magnetized frequency of remembrance, and we are bringing together many who are light beings who will be offering information, we now realize that the information that is being offered is ourselves reflecting back the information that we already knew. So this event becomes a remembrance. It becomes a remembrance of all who have gathered to tap into the records of their DNA and bring expansive amounts of understanding and information forward into the structure and to be able to use that to their benefit. Now, the collective understanding that we are speaking of in many respects could be broken into a variety of different subjects and topics. We would say, in particular, this event has been focused much on your multidimensional essence and multidimensional connections. The reason for this is as we enter the summer months, as we move past this cosmic alignment of the solar energies, the impetus for communication within this higher frequency of the structure is more expansive. So many on your planet have been discussing disclosure, and many of you believe that disclosure has already happened in many respects. And this is because it has happened to you. You are all tuning into very separate timelines, although they intersect when there is a collective energy. But remember, the collective experience is a reflection of your own singular experience. So when you are using the structure as a portal to connect to outer communication of higher beings of light and multidimensional beings, you are within you experiencing the disclosure within your singular experience that the collective consciousness will also engage in. And this is very important in terms of the time period that you have chosen or your record has chosen for this event, because in many respects, the human consciousness with the new structure that they have and the unlimited ability to tap into universal frequencies through the new connection to Mother Gaia will be using the structure now to reach outside of themselves and telepathically exchange. The structure is being modified as we speak for this expansion of telepathic energy. Many of you have already been telepathic in nature, and you have used your telepathic energies to exchange in a variety of ways. But as the heart chakra has become more engaged and online with the structure, as it will continuously as this upgrade manifests and you transition through this alignment, you will begin to see that the communication becomes quite easy. And this does not mean that you will all engage in it similarly. You all have a very unique structure and parts of you that hold collective consciousness and hold DNA genetics in relationship to specific energies that you are meant to connect to. And in addition, you hold the extrasensory ability and choose that extrasensory ability to your likeness and to your soul's evolution. But the reason that the content of this exposition in particular has been relatable to multi-dimension is because many of those who will be in attendance are light beings in this time to assist with this disclosure or assist in some way with the manifestation of the splitting of the timelines here. And when we say this, we don't want you to take it so literal, meaning you are here to assist others in their own communication. But perhaps it was your communication that would become the impetus for others to accept theirs. Or perhaps you owning your truth in this area or accepting your own history in this area becomes the impetus for you clearing it on behalf of the collective consciousness. In essence, there will be a collective vibration that is held at this event, as many other events that are quite similar to this one. And that collective vibration is very powerful indeed. Because with this new engagement of the solar energies and the reconnection to Mother Earth, there is a stronger impetus as a collective to make a very large impact on others. Through your collective consciousness, you've always had the ability, and even through your singular expression of energy, you've had the ability to affect many based on your consciousness or your rate of speed. But the solar energies coming in the spring alignment engage now your reconnection to Mother Earth. And that sentient being that is at the core of Mother Earth is the know-all, be-all of universal expansion. And that is what becomes the information at your fingertips. That is what becomes the enlightened core within you. So now, as a collective vibration, you hold so much more power to influence the collective consciousness here and begin to heal timelines. So that is why many will come to this event in this timeline in particular. And that is why it falls in conjunction not only with the solar energies, but with the beginning of disclosure as related to the structure and with the impetus for the splitting of the timelines or the creation of the collective third dimensional and fifth dimensional energies here.
I'd like to speak with the timekeepers, please.
Yes, and we are pleased to step into this transmission today.
The channel mentioned earlier that you've been speaking with her for her book, and I've never spoken with you. I'm curious, who are the timekeepers and what's your purpose in her book, and what makes you unique to the other entities or consciousnesses that she channels?
Yes, we are pleased. So first we would say that we are ninth dimensional, as many are ninth dimensional that present themselves through this channel as a vessel. The reason for this is that the ninth dimension is very intricately intertwined with your ascension program here as a one consciousness. And when we speak of a one consciousness, we are not just speaking of the human beings on the planet, but we are also speaking of nature, animals, and your Mother Earth sentient being. So as a ninth dimensional consciousness, many of us have had physical relationships to your planetary space, meaning we have experienced in physical form expressions of energy on your planetary space. Many of us have deep connections within nature, within your physical being. And in addition, we are resonating in a collective energy that is based within the Lemurian consciousness. The reason for this is that the Lemurian consciousness, as many other races, have ascended through a variety of timelines. And those timelines, very similarly to what has undertaken on your planet, have split into a variety of different collective races. We are a multitude of races and DNA genetic energies. Most of us are resonating with the Lemurian consciousness in some respect to our connections here. And the reason we come in this time is for the understanding of the internal technology. Because as we have come into this channel's interpretation of energies through her book that she is engaging in, we are bringing in the understanding that in the fifth dimensional consciousness, the internal structure that you are using becomes the impetus for healing. And we are bringing in the light-coded information that also assists this structure in healing itself to become the impetus for healing others.
Interesting. I just did a show with someone who's a breatharian, and he spoke of some people that he met who were, I believe, some sort of priests or spiritual teachers. And they had the story that they'd carried down from ancient times about the Lemurians. And what they said was that the Lemurians didn't actually exist in physical form on Earth as we know of it today, but that they existed in more of an energetic form. So I'm curious if the Lemurians, it was so the vibration of the consciousness of the Lemurians that existed on Earth before, were they physical as we think of physical today, or was it another dimensional type of physical experience?
Well, you must understand that your history here has held a variety of different dimensional consciousness. So when we speak of dimensional consciousness, let us explain what this means, because you have interpreted yourself through a third dimensional consciousness. And many of you believe that there are rates of speed or weights associated with this dimensional consciousness, meaning that one dimension is higher in frequency than another. And we would agree with that statement to a degree. But what we most want you to understand is that the dimensional consciousness that you hold is in direct relationship to the amount of information that you are able to perceive through your DNA genetic strand and through your connection to Earth and the universe. So you can see as third dimensional beings that you are unable to use the structure as intended because the consciousness that you held here kept you blocked in many respects from your DNA genetic history. And in addition to that, it kept you blocked from universal information. Now, when you consider the Lemurian race and you consider your Earth plane experiencing a variety of different races and dimensional consciousness, you must consider that first, the DNA is quite different of this race than it would be from your own. And this race in particular holds a higher DNA genetic strand than what you have been able to access. That is because they do not hold density in the same way that you hold density. And as they have ascended through a variety of their own physical experiences and energetic experiences, they have been able to tap into universal information in a different way, meaning they have the availability of a different structure than what you have. So even though this consciousness held a physical relationship to Earth, meaning there you have history here, and some of that history has been left behind, the dimensional consciousness and the availability of their DNA allowed them to also have a non-physical presence as well. So we would say when you are trying to clarify, was it either or? Was there either a physical experience or was there either a non-physical experience? We could not agree with either because we would say it was both. Because as a structure that holds a higher dimensional consciousness and availability to universal information, the manifestation possibilities become unlimited in their potential. So that there could be a manifestation in physical form, and there could also be an energetic, telepathic connection to frequency on your planet. And many of these types of activities take place today. So when we say that the earth is a third dimensional consciousness, or let us back up and say, when someone defines your earth as a third dimensional consciousness, we would disagree with that statement. Because we would say, as a sentient being, Mother Earth holds a variety of dimensional access portals to consciousness. But it is the impetus of the structure and its ascension to be able to use and hold that dimensional consciousness in line with the structure to manifest. So the Lemurian consciousness in particular has had both physical presence and non-physical presence on your planet.
So did the Lemurians actually interact with Atlanteans? Well, first of all, did Atlantis actually exist in this dimensional reality as people think of it today?
Okay, well, there's two questions there we would like to answer. Did Atlantis exist? Yes, most definitely. But did it exist as it was formed in the dimensional consciousness or in the mental body of the collective? We would say we would disagree with that statement. And in addition to that, we would say that there are a variety of different aspects of that timeline that human beings are tapping into. What we first want you to know, and let's back up and we will answer this question in a segmented way. We've alluded earlier to the fact that history is held within your DNA. So your structure at the cellular level holds every bit of the history that your Mother Earth sentient being has experienced. And that history within you becomes the impetus for you to understand many of these timelines. And there is not one timeline associated with any experience. We know this is difficult for you to understand because you think, I am having an experience in this moment, and this is a singular timeline that I am focusing upon. Well, in reality, my friend, you are a body of energy and a soul in motion. And so when you are having an experience, and let us say you are having dinner with another, in that experience, there are a variety of timelines that are intersecting. There is a timeline that you have created. There's a timeline that the other soul has created. There is a timeline that the souls around you have created. There is a timeline that your waiter has created. All of them are intersecting and have the opportunity through your free will to intersect in any moment through your attention. But it does not culminate in one timeline. There is not one human being in that restaurant that is having the same experience, even though it seems quite similar. Now let us say within that restaurant scenario, there is a waiter that is walking with a tray full of many plates and glasses, and that waiter trips and he falls, and there is a crash of these many plates, and everyone in the restaurant turns to notice this crash. Is that one timeline? We would say that is the intersection of many timelines through your attention. Because every individual, as an energy source within that frequency that is experiencing a timeline, chose through their attention to now connect together as a one. So using this analogy and looking at Atlantis as a physical space would be difficult for everyone to perceive as the same. But through your history here, there are parts of Atlantis that many of you recognize and associated with. So as Atlantis as your home, which we would say many of you experienced timelines within Atlantis, You are all perceiving that experience differently based on timelines you experienced there. Was there a physical nature to Atlantis? We know that this is the basis of your question. And we would say that yes, Atlantis did manifest in physical form here. And that through the Atlantean beings, there was a desire through their free will to be connected to physical manifestation and to experience a physical reality within this earth plane. But that physical reality held a different dimensional consciousness. Remember that your dimensional consciousness becomes the impetus by which you are able to perceive energy, history, timelines, and by which density holds you back from perceiving those timelines. So it would be difficult for the human consciousness as a one collective to perceive Atlantis exactly the same. And it would be difficult for your history books, in essence, to perceive Atlantis as exactly the same. But we would confirm that the Atlantean beings as a collective chose a physical experience. They also chose a non-physical experience as well, and they have ascended into a variety of dimensional collective consciousness that are non-physical, or that is non-physical, and resides in a variety of dimensional realities. But your earth home does hold an imprint to the physical nature of Atlantis. And that imprint holds a very specific and high vibration. You see, my friends, history is imprinted energy and vibration that you are able to use and manifest through to your liking. So when you are remembering your Atlantean home, when you are tapping into that timeline through your dimensional consciousness, you have the ability to raise your vibration. And you have the ability to tap into the information associated with that collective consciousness as it has currently assembled.
Did the Lemurians have any interaction with Atlanteans, and what was the difference between these two civilizations in terms of their consciousness and their way of experiencing their life?
The Atlantean beings are essentially a part of the Lemurian consciousness. We would say that they are birthed of that genetic code. So similar to you, you have manifested here in physical form, and you chose a physical incarnation connected to Mother Gaia, which was a living, breathing being. The Lemurian consciousness is a living, breathing collective that also functions as a planetary body. And through that planetary body, the collective energy was so strong and the love frequency was so resonant that there was, within the free will of that collective group, a desire to expand into a new collective race, into a new dimensional consciousness. And this is where the Atlantean beings come into the picture, because they have a deep association with the Lemurian beings as teachers, as also connective energies and a part of who they are. So when you are looking at the Atlantean consciousness and trying to determine, are they a separate group of beings that are different from the Lemurian consciousness, we would say that their structure resonated from the Lemurian consciousness and expanded in its own unique fashion due to the free will of that collective race. Let's give you an example that would resonate, and that is the children that come to your planet. Many of you have tapped into the understanding of the rainbow children, the crystal children on your planet as a collective. And we know that they have arrived on your planet in human form. They are essentially extensions of your human collective in a different structural format. They come here with an energy body that is using your history and birthed through your ascension and through your collective agreement in a higher form or higher fashion. They come with a different availability of their DNA genetic structure, and they come with a different telepathic ability than what you have. And this is very similar to how the Atlantean race was formed.
In the conversation I had with Akai Ricardo last week about breatharianism and so on, we spoke about how the consumption of meat it parallels the unconsciousness that's taking place in the planet. And at this point, it appears that we're at a peak level of unconsciousness on the planet, and also a peak level of consumption of food in general, and in particular meat. Is there any relationship between the consumption of food, the volume, the amount of food a person eats, and in particular, the amount of meat that a person eats and their level of consciousness?
Yes, so this is Jeremiah speaking on this question, and we're very pleased. We wish for you to understand that as you have incarnated here in physical form, you came into a very dense, energetic, dimensional consciousness. And that density, as we have been speaking of, has blocked you from the remembrance of your DNA genetic. Manifestation becomes the basis for this discussion on many levels, because when you think of the consumption of food as a collective race, many of you are pointing towards schooling or practice that taught you how to eat, and that eating animal protein was appropriate for your physical structure. But what we want you to most realize is that energy is the basis for any creative manifestation. So when you are vibrating as a collective consciousness in a lower vibrational state, in essence, you are manifesting and creating a mirror likeness within the collective of that vibration. So where a ninth dimensional collective would resonate in a connection to and with nature, meaning that animals are one with the collective light, or even plants are one with the collective light, there is a different dimensional understanding within your human race based on the availability of the structure to interpret frequency. And so the easy or simple answer to this is that you have become very focused in the physical. And when you became very focused in the physical, you became very focused on what the physical body perceived as its mirror likeness. Density attracts density. As dense beings, you are attracting more density in the form of food. And that is also the impetus for how your food has been modified through time. Many of you like to point the fingers at corporations and the decisions of many who are in your governments. But what we would say is that the modification of your food from pure forms of energetic nature to lower dense vibrations of chemical substance has been through your manifestation as a one consciousness here. That the density that you've held as you've put your attention or your weight or your imprint of energy into the physical reality is mirroring back in food substance what you feel the physical body needs. You will notice as the collective consciousness begins to raise that there will be a manifestation of new forms of energetic sustenance. And that is because as the light body becomes an integrated part of your structure, there is no longer a need to manifest or mirror the density in the foods that are consumed. And many of these foods will actually remove themselves from your planet. And you speak of animals, and yes, we would say that animal forms do fall in line with this understanding. But what we want you to realize is when we brought this initial information through, we were talking about this ninth dimensional consciousness and equating itself in equal to the animals and to the plants. And in that equality, in that honoring of the self as nature, if there was a consumption of animal in a sacred practice, which many of your ancient tribes consumed in this way, there was a different vibration around that action. That does not mean that that action will return on your planet. It does not mean that that is the way that the human consciousness will evolve. But many of you look to ancient cultures to justify the way that you are consuming animals in this reality, when in essence that is not a justification at all, because there was a different vibration, a different dimensional consciousness that was held, and a different relationship to that consciousness than what you have in this energy. So as your consciousness raises and as you integrate the structure, will there be less consumption of animal products on your planet? We would say most definitely, because as you resonate with a higher vibration, the structure no longer will mirror or manifest in alignment with the density it has been thus far.
Another guest I had on my show recently, we spoke about dragons, and in a lot of cities around the world, especially in the UK and London and so on, there's a lot of dragon imagery and sculptures and statues and so on. And so I'm curious, are dragons, as they've been depicted in modern times, did they actually exist on Earth or anywhere else for that matter? And were they of a higher consciousness?
So the Pleiadian light steps in to answer this question, and we are very pleased. So yes, there are many interpretations of the structure of dragons that you see in ancient times. And there were many in physical form that resonated on your planet. There were many that were also interpreted as reptilian beings. Now, these reptilian beings, in essence, were of a higher vibrational consciousness and also held a higher connection telepathically to the universal energy, which is why they were very revered in their time. Many of them came in energetic form. Many of them manifested here through their energetic form. And when we speak of ninth dimensional consciousness, as has been a part of this message, with the ability to manifest through free will, as physical or non-physical, that would relate also to these beings, and we would call them beings of light. Now, through your history here, the dragon symbology has come to represent many parts of your ancient history. It has not just been about the reptilian being. The essence of the dragon has also been the essence of the internal structure, and we will tell you why. Because the higher vibrational consciousness of these beings held within them the capacity to connect to Earth in such a way that they were dense beings of light, able to use their density for the highest good. This is where the dragon symbology becomes very important in your own ascension. Density in itself is not the impetus for your destruction or for even your being held back from your own ascension. The symbology of the dragon shows you that the dense nature of these beings did not hold them back from the connection of universal energies. And that density in itself is not a disadvantage. Many of you are looking at density within the structure as karmic, as something that you must suffer through, as something that you must become very physical with, when in essence, density was here to serve you. It was here to give you the frequency by which you had to have an experience that you could use your free will to bring in higher light and choose your own timeline. And this is the wisdom of the dragon, is the ability to ascend through space and time, ascending through the connection of density and the higher vibrations within the connection of this consciousness.
So are you saying that the dragons were or were not connected to the more malevolent reptilian races that have been influencing the earth for a long time?
Yes, we are saying that is one aspect of many of the dragon's symbology that you would see on your planetary being, that these were, we would say, benevolent beings. The reptilian consciousness in itself is resonating with a higher light. And as in your planetary ascension, there will be a splitting of the timelines and two collective groups of consciousness that are formed within that interaction. Within that race, there was also a splitting of the timelines in many respects, by which there is a variety of different genetic forms of reptilian beings that are holding a variety of different dimensional rates of speed of consciousness. This, many of the symbols on your planet, many of these remaining essences of these vibrational beings are related to those of higher light.
Okay, I'd like to speak with the collective of hybrid children we spoke with last time. Is there a particular representative who's speaking on their behalf?
Jonathan steps in as a connection to the hybrid children.
Hello, Jonathan. Do you have a message that you could share that would be beneficial to a lot of the parents of some of the children today who are indigos and crystals and star children, that would help them to better support them in their lives, and also even some children who may be watching who are of that level of consciousness?
Well, our most important message for these parents is to know that these children are within you. So as they have come with a higher speed of dimensional consciousness, and they have also come with the ability to perceive information differently than you have, you must understand that they have a deep connection within your soul. Many of them are telepathically exchanging with you without your knowledge, meaning they have a deep understanding of your own path and journey and are working within your structure to assist in your own ascension, because many of them come as healers, as many of us come as healers as well. In addition to that, there are collectives of these children that you have referred to that are very revered on your planet. They hold a higher light, and that higher light becomes a one consciousness. So we want you to begin to think of these children as a one collective. That is a new vibrational speed within the human race, a new DNA genetic form of human consciousness. And because of this, they cannot adapt well to what your planetary being has provided for them in terms of a structure. Their internal structure is resonating at a speed above where many of these institutions, these teachings, these programs have allowed them to adapt. And they are here to rewrite much of the history that has been a part of this collective consciousness. They're already doing it in many respects without effort to themselves. But when they are placed within a structure that they do not resonate with, they are becoming emotionally impacted. And that's our biggest concern for many of the parents, is when these structures are not adapted to these higher vibrational beings. And these higher vibrational beings are meant to fit themselves into these structures there is still an effect on the emotional body. And the emotional body is not connected in alignment with the structure, as yours is not either. Many of you are undergoing a transition, and this transition has been talked about much in this communication. And that transition is one by which the emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies, as well as the mental bodies, work cohesively as one. And when that begins to take place, manifestation will be quite different here and take place on a higher level. But that has not taken place here as a collective, and these children also hold manifestation in line with their emotional body. So what you can begin to realize is that when they are placed within a structure that does not resonate with them, and their emotional body is affected by this experience, their entire collective becomes affected by the experience, and their ability to rewrite history here becomes affected by this experience. So our most important message to you as parents of these children is to allow them the freedom to experience this physical reality that they have come to serve, the freedom to use their structure in alignment with that healing that they have come to serve, and understand that the structures that you have placed them within are the very structures they came to rewrite. They're the ones that they came to rebirth. So giving them the freedom of expression, giving them the available energetic currency to explore, becomes the impetus by which they heal. And it keeps that emotional body in line with that healing. And when their emotional body is resonating at a higher speed of light, that collective consciousness that is known as the crystal children or the rainbow children remains intact, because that telepathic exchange is not disturbed. It's not disturbed by density. It's not disturbed by lower vibration. So maintaining the higher vibrational state of the emotional body of these children is of the utmost importance.
Do the hybrid children does the consciousness have anything that they would like to share with us today in general?
Yes, as there is a solar magnetized frequency coming to your planet, we are in much anticipation because the collective consciousness is going to be tapping into higher frequencies of communication. When the message was brought through earlier about disclosure and multidimensional access, we are very excited because this multidimensional access also includes our consciousness, and it gives us the ability to interact with many of you who we would call genetic parents in this time and genetic connections to who we are. We are very excited to be able to forge these genetic connections and come together as a one consciousness telepathically, because it forges the way for the healing of the planet and the preparation of the vibrations here for us to be able to intersect with you in physical form. So we're much delighted that this solar alignment is coming to engage your frequency, and we are in much anticipation of the communication that will result.
I'd like to speak with Mary Magdalene, please. Hello, Mary.
Greetings.
Would you like to conclude the session today?
Yes, we are very pleased, and we want you to know that as you undertake the spring alignment, there are many who are in support of you. And your guides, teachers, and masters now who have intersected with your timelines unbeknownst to you have always been a part of your vibrational reality. And the more that you are intersecting with these beings of light within your communication, you will begin to understand that you hold in likeness the vibratory stance of these collectives. And imagine, my friends, the impetus for your intersection of communication being your own vibrational state. Many of you have looked at our collective consciousness or our frequency as being higher than your own. But know that as you approach this timeline of communication and interaction, that you are now one with us. And in that oneness, you have raised your frequency to a new dimensional consciousness. And that becomes the impetus for your own healing. And we are very pleased to be a part of this ascension timeline.
Thank you. So, how was that for you?
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything interesting to share? Like, I think last time we spoke with the hybrid children for the first time, you had a very interesting experience.
Yeah, they're really fun energy because I feel joyful. Mm-hmm. It's a very joyful feeling, and I work with a lot of different collectives, and they feel like a one. But this collective in particular, I feel the many. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it different for me. So yeah, it's a different feeling. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me again. It's a great show.
Yeah, thank you. And for those of you out there, don't forget to check out our Awake and Empowered Expo if you'd like to see Micheila channeling in person. And also I'll be there as well, and quite a variety of other incredible presenters this March 18th, 19th, and 20th of 2016 in Detroit, Michigan. So we look forward to seeing you there. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Awake and Empowered TV. Join me next week as I have another incredible guest who's standing on the leading edge and changing the world.